You're listening to Hearing the Silence of a Convicted Mind. I'm Chameleon Looter. I don't chase noise. I study silence. Let's listen carefully. The case was closed. The sentence was final. But the language didn't stop. When a convicted mind speaks, most people listen for regret. I listen for rehearsal. For the parts that remain active after movement is removed, today, a pattern I call the inventory code. A composite offender, mid-level organizer, convicted on conspiracy and racketeering charges. Not a portrait of one person, a stitched example drawn from many recordings. Why listen? Because the calls contain lists, casual, offhand mentions of objects, nicknames, and places that kept repeating. I reviewed them to see whether those repetitions were noise or protocol. Facts first. The recordings are post-conviction commissary calls, held calls, and written transcripts. The conviction barred contact in certain channels. Movement was restricted, visits limited. Still, the offender kept mentioning a blue bag, a corner store name, 3 nicknames, and a streetlight. What felt off wasn't the mention itself. It was the way those mentions behaved across conversations. The timing, the repetition, and the absence of direct verbs. Analysis. Part A, the language shift. When movement is removed, cognition repurposes language. Lists replace direct instructions. He wasn't speaking in past tense. He was rehearsing possibility. Note 3 markers: word repetition, future-oriented phrasing, and catalog grammar. Word repetition, the same object label returns across calls. Blue bag, 3 times in 2 days. Not described, not contextualized, simply listed. Future-oriented phrasing, when it's there, if it's ready, we'll sort it later. Language that keeps options open, preserves contingencies. Catalog grammar, items placed in sequence, commas or small pauses separating entries, almost like a shopping list. That structure reduces risk. It also preserves meaning for listeners who share the context. Consider this: a list is deniable. A list names objects. It does not name actions. That ambiguity is the asset. So language shifts from verbs to nouns. From do this to that, then this. If you're listening for orders, noun lists will sound harmless. If you're listening for patterns, they're not. Analysis. Part B, the silence. Here's where it becomes forensic. The pauses around item mentions were not random. A breath before a name. A 2-second hold after an object. A clipped cadence when a nickname is spoken. Silence has patterns. Those pauses function like punctuation in code. They set boundaries. They mark emphasis. They test response. Measure the pause. A short pause before, corner, followed immediately by a soft question. You remember it? If the listener affirms, the sequence continues. If not, the offender rephrases as if clarifying, not commanding. Listen for breath changes too. Inhalations that elongate before a key word. Those breaths are not emotion alone, they are timing. Silence is rarely empty, it's evidence. Analysis. Part C, the manipulation. These lists do more than label, they test. Small references operate as compliance checks. You still got Raina's number? A casual ask. A soft request in the middle of a list, and the bag. Can someone pick that? Why subtlety? Because inside incarceration, overt commands are riskier. A catalog of items functions as a distributed instruction set. Each item nudges the listener, watching for micro-confirmations. The manipulation is scaled. First, a name drop, then an offhand object, then a place. Each element alone is plausible. Together, they build a protocol. Together, they maintain obligations and test loyalty without saying, do this. That is adaptation, that is strategy. Escalation insight. Zoom out. Conviction closes cases. It does not end cognition. Incarceration limits movement, not strategy. Some minds repurpose language into durable protocols, lists that carry time, roles, and expectation. Inventory becomes instruction. Nicknames become routing tags. Places become timing devices. When you hear this pattern repeatedly across channels, you are witnessing an adaptive system, a network that persists through ambiguity. This builds authority because it is observable. Across dozens of transcripts, the same features recur: noun lists, paused emphasis, small compliance probes. That consistency suggests intention, not accident. Patterns accrue power when they repeat. The chilling realization. Maybe he wasn't reacting. Maybe he was prepared for this phase. Maybe the lists were rehearsed. Tested phrasing, practiced pauses, calibrated breaths. Short sentences. Clinical. Intent doesn't always shout. Sometimes it arranges nouns and weights. Controlled, close. Conviction closes cases. It doesn't always close patterns. Silence has patterns. If you listen differently, you'll hear options preserved in noun lists, compliance tested in pauses, and influence maintained through catalogs of ordinary things. Pay attention to what wasn't said. Subscribe to Hearing the Silence of a Convicted Mind for more forensic listening. Each episode teaches one concrete listening cue: what to flag, when repetition matters, and how geography and objects substitute for direct commands. Listen carefully. Silence always says something. Incarceration restricts movement. It does not restrict cognition. Some minds adapt. That's what I heard. Is the truth in what is said? Listen carefully.
They call it manipulation. Sometimes it's adaptation to constant observation. Because when you know someone's always listening, you learn how to speak without saying everything.